Thank you so much for joining us once again for the Twyman Creative Insider. I am your host, Talandi Maduro, and today we have with us Jeff Latula.
You got it.
And why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do, Jeff, in the film and television industry?
I'm a reader, and I work for a couple studios. I work for New Line Cinema, and I work for Paramount, for one of the smaller companies that is owned by Paramount. And basically what happens is when you submit a script to a studio, it could go to one of a number of producers there, and instead of them reading all the scripts that come into them, they have a gaggle of people like me who they send the scripts down to, and we're kind of like the first line of defense. They say, you know, tell us if this is any good, tell if it sucks, and if you think we should buy it, let us know why. So I'm kind of the first line of defense for the studio as far as that goes.
Okay. So a lot of people don't know about readers unless you're, you know, deep into the film industry. How did you get started to be a reader?
You know, I got lucky. I don't know if you ever saw Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle.
Yes, I have seen that.
But one of my good friends who, you know, it's funny the way the internet works. I was on a screenwriter's message board when I was in college because I'm also a writer. And I met a couple people through there who were doing the same kind of thing that I'm doing right now, and one of them was a guy named Luke Ryan, who ended up being the producer of Harold and Kumar and working for New Line Cinema. And he had liked my writing, and you know, he had been sending me scripts to read, and we had just been going back and forth. And so when I got out of college, he said, you know, do you want a job out here doing what I used to do? And I said, yeah, pretty obvious. And so I just kind of took on from there. So the thing, this is going to come up later, so I'll just go ahead and say this now. I cannot get you a job as a reader. That's kind of the way it goes. It's one of those things where there's a lot of positions
right.
in the entertainment industry, and especially with the studios, that you can go and intern, kind of work your way up. For whatever reason, being a reader is something that it's like nobility. Not that I'm noble in any way, but it's like you're sort of like born into it, and then you get it, and there's like 10 people waiting behind you. So
wow.
What I do is kind of difficult to get into, but as far as working with a studio, you know, the best route to go through when you want to do that is to try to get an internship, and the most important thing is to talk to people who work at the studios,
okay.
and just get to know everybody you can, because you never know when somebody you know, you've talked to who appreciates you and likes who you are will say, hey, maybe you don't have experience doing that, but there's something opening up here, maybe you want to come give it a shot. So
right.
I got lucky because I'm a tremendous person. But you know,
that's the only reason why, you know, spare no modesty.
Well, you know, that's why I'm here today. You know, it's not because I know things or anything like that. But Kirk called me up a couple weeks ago and he said, you know, we need a fat little white kid to come talk to everybody.
So, what is your main goal? I mean, do you have any? Are you writing anything right now?
I am. I'm currently writing 2 different projects, and we're meeting with independent producers on those. So I'm trying to get those done. I tend to write, though my advice skews towards, you know, people who want to write and sell to a studio. I tend to write things that are a little off kilter. So most of my ideas aren't what you would call studio friendly. They're not high concept, to use a really awful term that I hate. But so we've been talking with independent producers. I write with my roommate sometimes, and he's an actor, so I write stuff for him. So we're getting that together. I also, if I find a script that I really like, I will produce it on a creative level, help with notes and rewrites and stuff like that. So my main goal is to get to a point where I'm writing and producing, and I never have to read another script again for a studio because it's sucking my soul out.
Yeah,
but I would ultimately like to just keep a steady career as a screenwriter.
Okay, so give us an example of what a young writer should do in regards to getting their script to a studio.
Well, that's all about networking.
Okay.
It's all completely about networking, and you know, it's one of the things that I find a lot is that beginning writers, novice writers really have a tough time understanding that to really put yourself out there, you have to be in New York or LA. There's really no other way around it, unless you've got some kind of like teleconferencing set up in your apartment where you can, you know, somehow finagle studios into going back and forth with you, which has never happened because that's on like Star Trek or something like that. You really need to be out here, and you need to be pounding the pavement, and you need to be meeting everybody you can. And then once you do that, you'll start to meet people behind people who, you know, they'll introduce you to, And it's happened here a couple times today. You know, you meet somebody and they say, hey, here's what I can do for you. Can you do this for me?
Right.
And it kind of goes from there. So, you know, you can get a script submitted to a studio by making friends with somebody who's in the mailroom. Because
Right.
inevitably they're going to know somebody up in the production office who they'll say, you know, this guy wants a script read. And, you know, maybe it's not serious. Maybe, you know, they're not looking at you like you're Charlie Kaufman and your next script is coming and it's going to be the next big thing. But it's important to get that out there. And if you're good enough, eventually people will recognize you and you'll, you know, begin to build relationships through that. So the most important thing is just to network, and don't stop.
Now, are there any classes or software or books or anything like that that would help a young writer who's trying to get started?
I don't necessarily recommend classes.
Okay.
I actually have a real simple approach to screenwriting. I think there's one book that you can buy and read. It's called Screenplay, which is pretty simple. It's by a guy named Syd Field. Mm-hmm. Syd is spelled S-Y-D, and it doesn't tell you really like how to write a script so much as how story works. And if you understand the way story works, you know, you can write a script any way you want to, and it could be great.
Right.
Most people write scripts and they suck. They're appalling. So what Screenplay does is teaches you like, hey, there's this time-tested system for how stories are written, and it takes you through that. And so if you can read Screenplay and you take, there's a website on the internet, it's called Scriptorama, Drew's Scriptorama. I think it's script-o-rama.com, and they have just hundreds of screenplays. And if you read Screenplay and you read produced screenplays, I recommend, if you can get your hands on Back to the Future, I would read Back to the Future. I would read Karate Kid. Those are two very classic screenplays. If you can read those kind of things, and just, I think reading produced screenplays is the best possible way to look and see, all right, this is what was done, this is how they set it up, this is how they executed it. Once you understand the fundamentals about story, you just got to kind of take off and run with it. And then what it's going to come down to after that is, do you have the talent or not? You know, you can go out and buy, a lot of people have a lot of different books on screenwriting, and if you go out and buy one and that system works for you, that's great.
Right.
But if you read Screenplay and you read lots of screenplays and you find that it's not happening for you, it's probably not going to happen. And you can spend a lot of money trying to make it happen, but you know, that's one of the things I find with people in this industry is that they don't have realistic expectations on their talent. So I would read screenplays. I would read Screenplay by Syd Field, and as far as software, which you had mentioned, pretty much everybody uses Final Draft. And it's sort of expensive. You can get it for like $150, $200 for like the basic version, but it was like Tony was saying earlier, you know, if you don't have a minimum amount of money to invest in something that you're passionate about, then it's not going to happen for you anyway.